So my daughter, Emily, wrote a blog for everydaybuddhist.org, and she titled it, Pride Starts Here. And it was a very positive essay giving advice, constructive advice, on how to deal with the LGBTQ community with respect, and how to be an ally, and why pronouns are important. You know, like if you call me Larry, my name's John, right? I would like you to please call me John. You know, if you call me Johnny or Jonathan, you know, those aren't really my names. And my son, Teague, and his wife, Amber, my daughter-in-law, we just had another grandchild. And thank you. And my paternal grandfather's name was Harrison Turner, and my maternal grandfather's name was John Edward Harrison. So that's why I'm named John, is because his name was John Edward Harrison. So, and you know, George Harrison is like the greatest Beatle. So Teague pushed through the name Harrison Turner. So it honors, you know, my grandfathers on both sides and George Harrison. So in my family now, we have a John, I have a new dog named Ringo, and I have a grandson named Harrison. So Linda said we need a Paul. We just need a Paul. So this month is Pride Month, and that's why Emily wrote this blog for Everyday Buddhist. She kicked it off. It came out May 31st of May for the month of June for Pride Month. And I wanted to mention that quote we read today, that of one taste, in Shinran's Chinese, in Shinran's original verses written in Chinese, the phrase is ichi mi. Ichi means one, and mi means taste. So at the Gardena Buddhist Temple, they have a large group that supports the LGBT community, and the name of that committee is called Ichi Mi, right? We're all of one taste. And then I also wanted to show you this. Emily went to New York last year, and she visited the Stonewall restaurant, where they had the Stonewall Uprising. It was from June 28th to July 3rd, 1969. So Emily kind of went on a pilgrimage to actually see where the LGBTQ movement began. And she took a picture of that little or big plaque on the outside. It says, "The Stonewall Inn. The events that began at the Stonewall Inn in 1969 marked a monumental change for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Americans. Stonewall, which occupies 51 through 53 Christopher Street, was a gay bar that was raided on June 28, 1968. Patrons and a crowd outside resisted, and confrontations continued over the next few nights in nearby Christopher Park and on adjacent streets. This uprising crystallized the LGBTQ civil rights movement, resulting in increased visibility for the community that continued to resonate in the struggle for equality." So we have a flag out in our lobby, right, to kind of signal that this is a safe place and that you really are accepted just as you are. Emily and her partner actually came to church the Sunday after the shooting in Texas. There was a gay bar shooting in Texas. And when they walked in and saw that flag, they teared up. I mean, it really means a lot. It really is a powerful statement. So also, I wanted to show you that I received this from the Seattle Buddhist Temple from Reverend Kusunoki. This is kind of the original LGBTQ flag of the rainbow. And then in 2017, a new design came out, which I think we have in the lobby. Emily made sure that that was the one I got. I had to get the latest flag. But I got this from Reverend C.J. Dumford. C.J. Goes by the pronouns they. So they sent this to me, and this is the newer style flag. It incorporates people of color. Sometimes the LGBT community was like really white, right? It was a white person's problem. And they realized that they needed to really identify with all different peoples of color. So I wanted to talk today about what does Buddhism say about gender. We hear a lot about gender on TV from lots of different sides. So I kind of wanted to investigate what does Buddhism say about gender. And gender is an issue for all people. Gender's a problem. Gender itself is not a problem, but when we become attached to it, or we have very narrow defined stereotypes for how a woman is supposed to be or a man, it can be very restrictive. Like when I was in high school, my football coaches for the senior class had to go through and see what our GPAs were because he didn't want any of us getting kicked out of school or not being able to play sports because we weren't going to class. And they were positive I was one of the dumbest kids on the team. And I had this was back before you could get 4.5s, right? The highest you could get was a 4.0. And I had like a 3.95. But I didn't want people to know I was smart, right? Because I'm a boy, and I was a football player. So I kind of gave off this like dumb jock attitude for 4 years of school because I didn't want people to know that I was smart. And I just didn't think it was what football players did. And we do this a lot. We think we have to be a certain way if we're a certain gender. And it becomes, we lose freedom. We lose freedom. So there's a very good book out right now that I just bought called Buddhism Beyond Gender. And she makes it clear it's liberation from attachment to gender. It's our attachments to gender that get us in trouble. It's not gender itself. And she also says that in Buddhism, we challenge your identity in every way, like who you are, your ethnicity, your job, your relationships, your friends. Everything's challenged. Everything is impermanent and flows. But she said when it comes to gender, we're kind of conspicuously quiet in Buddhism. Like that's also something that is not fixed. It doesn't define a true self, a true fixed identity. And yet, we're a little quiet on that. So I wanted to give you a couple quotes. She said, clinging to gender identity and letting conventional ideas about gender dictate one's life contradicts all central Buddhist teachings. Imagine trying to hold on to both ends of this contradiction. Though there is no permanent abiding self, nevertheless, gender is real. So it's very difficult to do that. So this idea that there's an ideal kind of woman or there's an ideal kind of man, and if you don't fit that, there's something not right or there's something a little off. At church, if something breaks, people look to me to go fix it. I could barely know how to use a hammer. You know what I mean? I'm just not that guy. There's a lot of male things about me that I don't have, but that's okay. That's okay. So I wanted to talk about Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in our tradition, in the Buddhist tradition. I mean, all of them are almost all male, right? All the statues you see are male. And she points out in this book that awakening is not gendered, right? Being awakened is not a guy thing or a girl thing. It has nothing to do with gender. Then why are all the statues male? So this book was written by Rita M. Gross. She's a Buddhist feminist. Her most famous book is called Buddhism Beyond Patriarchy. I haven't read it yet because I think it's too hard, but I got to get it. But she's very well thought. She's very provocative. I like books that make me think. The sad thing is she passed away, I think, around 2017 of a massive stroke. But she was a very, very famous Buddhist scholar in the United States. So one thing we do in our tradition a lot, and even from India, is very patriarchal. There's a character we use to flag people as women. And Professor Gross wants to know, why is that so important? Why is it so important that we gender mark people? And she said she's noticed that when people communicate through email, oftentimes if the first name is non-gendered, you don't know if you're talking to a man or a woman. And it's a little off-putting, right? We don't know what to do. But she asks, why is it so important? Why is it so important that you know that? So when we give people Homeo cards, Dharma names, either at a Kieshki ceremony or at death, we used to always mark the female cards with this character. And it kind of makes sense. Like, I don't want to call your grandpa your grandma by accident. But it seems odd to gender somebody for eternity when they've transcended all form and they've returned back to the ocean of oneness. So this character is pronounced ni, and it appears a lot. So my wife practices yoga, and I've mentioned this before, but a yoga guru, a male yoga guru, is called a yogi. But Linda, because she's a female yoga guru, she's a yogini. They stick that ni on there. So this goes all the way back to ancient India. And then male Buddhist monastics are called bhikkhus, but female Buddhist monastics are called bhikkhunis. And you know we have special services for Shinran's wife, Ishini, and his daughter's name was Kakushini. For the longest time, I thought their last name was Shini. The ni on the end is signifying that they're Buddhist, female Buddhist followers of Jodo Shinshu. So this ni keeps getting stamped all the way back, thousands of years before Buddhism. So I wanted you to know, it's kind of interesting, within the last 5 or 6 years, we've quit putting this character on the Homeo cards. So, and I think it's part of this gender equality. It's odd to gender someone for the rest of eternity. It just seems like an odd thing to do. So now the Homeo cards for men and women are equal. They both have 5 characters. There's no flags anymore for gender. It's just not a defining characteristic that needs to go on a Homeo card. So I wanted to talk about one of the famous female bodhisattvas. There's not that many. I have a whole bunch to show you. This is the one from my home. This is the first one I ever got. When I used to get nervous, I couldn't say their name. It's Avalokitesvara. It's the bodhisattva of compassion. But what happens is this kind of gets associated with women, right? That women are compassionate, and the bodhisattva for wisdom is men, right? So it's kind of this thing where men are logical, women are emotional, women are compassionate, men have wisdom. And you set up this gender identification with a quality that anyone could have and should have. Men should be and are compassionate. It doesn't come across on the X chromosome or anything like that. Like my baldness, it's not like that. So this is a little tiny one that I use as an incense burner. This one was given to me by a friend. This one's like made out of iron or brass. And then this one was donated to me by Linda Hanamoto. This is like about a 3-foot wood carving. And now the gender of Avalokitesvara starts getting a little hazy. Sometimes the face looks very feminine, but oftentimes Avalokitesvara is bare-chested and looks like a man. So the gender, they're playing with gender in the Buddhist tradition, where it represents both genders. This is a quality for both. This is the new one that was just donated. It's outside the Kodo lobby by Riko Ishii and the Ando Ito family. So we have our own 4-foot, 5-foot wood carving of Avalokitesvara right in the Kodo lobby. And so this is the Bodhisattva of compassion. Now I want to show you my favorite one. This is the one at Vista. And before I knew the backstory to Avalokitesvara, I didn't quite know what was going on here, right? Like her lips are bright red, the face looks very feminine, but from the shoulders down, it appears to be masculine. So what happens is Avalokitesvara's gender, they keep playing with it in the Buddhist tradition. It starts out as male in India, and as it travels to China and Japan, it kind of flirts with becoming more feminine. But it's never exactly clear which gender is Avalokitesvara. So I wanted to read you some quotes from Rita Gross. She said, within the Mahayana Buddhist tradition, Avalokitesvara is not one consistent gender. In Chinese Buddhism, the name Guanyin is given to the same bodhisattva who changes genders depending on interpretation and imagery. In Japanese Buddhism, the bodhisattva is called Kannon. This bodhisattva has been depicted as a man and a woman, some porcelain or jade statuettes or figurines, visibly feminine features, while others have a flat male chest. The common idea behind this is that the bodhisattva transcends categories of gender, as Buddhism in general tries to defy categorical and logical thinking that demands definitions in its entirety. So it's kind of opening us up to a quality that's gender independent. Guanyin is the Chinese name for Avalokitesvara. However, many traditions in China and other East Asian countries have added many distinctive characteristics and legends. Avalokitesvara was originally depicted as a male bodhisattva and therefore wears chest-revealing clothing and may even sport a mustache. Although this depiction still exists in the Far East, Guanyin is more often depicted as a woman in modern times. So I went on the internet and I Googled Avalokitesvara, and I wanted to kind of show you examples. So here's an Indian version of the Bodhisattva of Compassion, looking very masculine, very masculine. And then in China, Guanyin is spelt lots of different ways, beginning to look a little bit more feminine, the face, but not the chest. And so I was showing my talk to my wife, Linda, and I kept saying she or he, and she said, stop doing that. You can't call her he, I can't tell. It's just Guanyin, right? It's just Guanyin, representing compassion. And then in Japan, Kannon, it's pronounced Kannon. This one looks much more feminine. And so I think it's good in a way to transcend gender, but it's also really nice to have a great bodhisattva representing the feminine gender in the Buddhist tradition as well. So I think it's serving two different purposes. The bodhisattva often has multiple heads and arms, which symbolize, his, her, limitless capacity to perceive suffering and to help all beings. According to legend, when Avalokitesvara first heard the suffering of the world, her head burst from pain. Amida, her teacher, took the pieces of their head and remade 11 heads in its place. Then Amida gave Avalokitesvara 1,000 arms with which to ease all suffering. So the idea is, it's almost like your mom and dad, they always see everything you do. You can't get away with anything. She has 11 heads, 22 eyes, looking east, north, west, and south all the time. So Avalokitesvara can always see all the world's suffering. But then she has 1,000 arms to make it better and to embrace us. So Rita Gross always warns us about being too literal. She said, years ago at the Brooklyn Museum, I was looking at a Tibetan statue of a multi-armed figure when a middle-aged white couple stopped to view the statue. And as they did, one said to the other, "What is that about? Do you suppose they were trying to portray a freak who was born that way?" Then before I could say anything, they moved on. As I or anyone else familiar with the Indian culture, they could have told them the multiple arms were not intended to be a photograph-like portrait. Their intent is symbolic, not literal. They symbolize the deity's multiple abilities and capabilities. Only if one were completely blind to symbolism could one so completely misread the meaning of the statue's multiple arms, imagining that they were intended to be an accurate physical representation of an actual person born with many arms. So that's the meaning behind this kind of overwhelming arms and head. And I wanted to show you this video. This is the 1,000-hand bodhisattva dance from the Chinese art troupe of challenged persons. It's one of my favorite videos. So this is a very important bodhisattva in Eastern Buddhism. Isn't that amazing? So, when not depicted alone, Amida Buddha is often portrayed with two assistants, Avalokitesvara, one who observes with compassion, and on the right, I cannot say this name. I can say Avalokitesvara now really good, but I can't say this. So luckily in Japanese, we call it Seiji. So I'm going to say Seiji, because I'm a very dedicated Jodo Shinshu Buddhist. And it means the arrival of great strength and wisdom on the left. So here's Amida Buddha, and if you look on the left and right, you can see Seiji and Avalokitesvara, or Kannon. So these are Amida's assistants, right? Wisdom and compassion assisting the Buddha, Amida Buddha of infinite light. The central figure of Amida standing on a lotus with hands in the Amida Mudra, accompanied by two attendants on a lotus, Seishi on the left and Kannon on the right. So, they're actually, bodhisattvas that help Amida Buddha. So we have a very close relationship with this bodhisattva, and why it appears often at our temples is Kannon. So I wanted to share one more thing with you that she mentions in the book. We got rid of the knee character, pretty good. We got the flag. My daughter Emily says this doesn't solve all your problems. There's more work to be done, but she's an incrementalist, and she believes in the slippery slope, and everything we do helps. Another thing that Gross mentions in her book that I sometimes try to forget because it sounds so bad, you could have a nun in the Buddhist monastic tradition that's the most senior, educated, the head nun of all the nuns, has been ordained and been practicing in a monastery for 40 years. And a male, 15-year-old male, could be ordained that day, the most lowest rank male in the male monastic tradition, and he is automatically outranks the woman. So this is something that, this kind of patriarchy is something that's in the Indian culture and it's in our culture, and that the highest woman nun is subordinate to the lowest ranking male. So I thought about this in our tradition. I love organizing principles. I just like them, they're great. Even if they're lame, it's great to have one. In our tradition, do you know what our organizing principle is? Whoever has the least amount of hair. No, I'm kidding. No, we do it solely by order of ordination. Your ordination date determines your rank. So as ministers, when we all show up for a major service, we just line up by ordination date. It has nothing to do with gender. So Reverend Wonder will always be my senior minister because she was ordained several years, 5 years, I don't know how long, but even a day, even if it's just a day before me, she outranks me forever. So it's really I kind of thought about that. It's a wonderful thing. Our ministers are female and male. They're equivalent in every way. And the ranking has nothing to do with gender. It only has to do with your ordination date. And, sometimes that could drive you crazy because, if you're 60 years old and you just got ordained and you have to stand behind somebody who's 19. But that's how it's done. That's how it's done. There's no argument. It's easy to understand, and we all line up, and it takes gender completely out of the equation. So, and what this book is saying is that trying to live fixed gender roles is not an LGBTQ issue. It's just an issue for all people. Trying to be or fit a stereotype or an ideal is very difficult. And I remember, I think things are much better now, but when I was a little boy, it seems crazy now, but I think we've come a long way. My sister got Barbies, and I got G.I. Joe, right? And I got machine guns and switchblades and hand grenades. Like, we don't do that anymore, right? Torrin has a grocery store, and Torrin has a kitchen, and he cooks. And, he gets a lot of non-gender toys. And so I really think culturally we're moving in that direction. But it's just nice to know that this is a basic teaching of Buddhism, to challenge any fixed identity. Everything is a continuum, and everything flows. And in some areas, you might lean more one way than the other, and that's okay, right? Everybody has a unique expression of their own true self, and it's not predetermined or defined by outside circumstances. And I think this is something we can learn from the LGBTQ community. This urge to gender stamp, she really asks us, why is it so important? She was saying that her personal history, that her gender really tells you almost nothing about her, right? Knowing Rita Gross's gender is not helpful because she doesn't really check any of the traditional boxes. So it can actually get us into trouble. And one of the things my daughter told me to do to really be an ally is to really try to stop guessing. Like when I get nervous, when I meet new people at Temple, I want to start conversation. But Emily said, you can ask questions, but just don't guess, right? Don't jump to conclusions and don't assume things. Just ask questions and be open to whatever way they present rather than trying to guess. And it's very helpful. And it's a lot less stressful. Guessing is hard. So I wanted to thank you very much for listening to this presentation. When you look at Kuan Yin from now on, really take a look at how it's representing a quality that all men and women should strive for. It's an ideal. It's a reminder for all. So thank you very much. Please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Naman Da Butsu. Naman Da Butsu. Thank you very much.